The template method will define the outline of an algorithm, some parts of which are implemented in the template and other parts of which are deferred or delegated to subclasses. The control servlets that we've been writing, although not yet template methods, could be. And so we'll just take a look in here now at the template method example. The only thing really we need to look at is the source code. As you can see here, I'm going to open up the supercontroller, the controller, and one of the subcontrollers. So let's take a look at the supercontroller first. This is the template. This is a very simple algorithm actually, because the algorithm is if the request is a post request, then the doPost method will be called. If the request is a GET request, then the doGet method will be called. And in both cases, they're going to call the processRequest method. So that's the algorithm. And the algorithm has been embodied in this template. So we find then, and because this is a servlet, because this is the tailoring. Remember I was saying that we need to customize? Well, here we're customizing the general pattern, the general solution, so that it fits our internet application context, and therefore we need a servlet. So the class is going to extend HTTP servlet, is going to override doGet and doPost, and both of these are going to call processRequest. Now processRequest is the part of the algorithm that isn't yet known. This is the bit that varies according to the situation we're in, and therefore we're going to make this method abstract, which means we have to make the class abstract. Now abstract means no implementation exists in this class, and therefore instead of having a method body with open brace, close brace and some statements, we've just got a semicolon. There's no method body for that abstract method, which means then, because the class is abstract, we cannot instantiate that class directly, and therefore we're going to have to write subclasses. So let's take a look at the controller. This is the name of the class, extends supercontroller. So it immediately inherits all the stuff from supercontroller, in other words the doPost and the doGet method, and it is required to implement the processRequest method. And therefore what we've got is the method body with everything that we would normally expect to see. It's invoking other controllers. Now this is a slightly different approach. For example, if the request has a command value, all employees, then we're going to set up the request dispatcher to hit the subcontroller all employees, which is this one. So you'll notice then that what the controller is doing is simply dispatching to a subcontroller. This is a good thing to do in some ways, because what's going to happen is that if you imagine you've got thousands and thousands of clients all around the world and they're all hitting this one servlet. Now that's going to cause quite a workload. And so what we want to do is to get the request in and out of this servlet as quickly as possible so that we're not degrading performance too much. So what we're going to do then is to set up subcontrollers. So all the code that used to be under the if statement, all inside this body here, that's all been taken out of there and put into the subcontroller class. So all of that kind of stuff would originally have been in the controller. That's now been extracted, so that the controller identifies which subcontroller needs to be invoked and then forward. So it straight away will mean that this servlet has finished dealing with the request. Control is not going to come back here, so this servlet is now no longer processing the request. Gets rid of the request as quick as possible. And now the subcontroller is able to deal with it in exactly the same way as we have been used to doing. The effect of that, if we take a look in here, is that we've now got a subcontroller for each of our transactions that the user could invoke. So that's using the template method design pattern. What have we got then as participants in the template method? We've got the abstract class, which is the class that implements as much of the algorithm as can be done, and the bits that can't be done are made abstract methods. And then the concrete class, which essentially is the subcontroller, that provides the concrete implementation of the abstract method